And now I'd like to invite our state senator and the Senate President, Don Williams, to the podium.
Thank you, May. Good evening. It's always such a pleasure to join you all here, especially after the tough year that we've had up in Hartford. I'll tell you, it's if you want to compare this to another situation, 1991, most of the folks here, many of you can remember, that was a really tough year for Connecticut. It's the year that Weicker put in the income tax, and they were in session just about the whole year. Well, this year, the problem was worse. This year, the deficit was bigger, and we weren't alone. I mean, we had, as you recall, a year ago, a meltdown in the U.S. economy. We almost had a depression in this country. We were losing 500, 600, 700 points on the stock market a day. That was just a year ago. And luckily, the country pulled back from the brink. But we're still in tough times. Thank goodness we didn't go into something that looked like the 1930s. But we still have a very tough recession, not only in Connecticut, but across this entire country. So that made it very tough up in Hartford in terms of getting something done. We had a big challenge. I wish I could stand here and tell you that we in the legislature had a partner in the governor's office, someone who stood up and was a real leader and who put those tough proposals on the table that needed to be made. But that didn't happen. We had a governor who underestimated the deficit by almost $3 billion. She did that to avoid the tough choices of either higher taxes or the tough cuts that would have to be made. So we were left in the legislature to pick up the slack, to put together some tough proposals, to in the end vote through $3 billion worth of cuts. And I know you've heard about some of those cuts, and probably folks aren't happy with all of it. But in these tough times, we had an $8.5 billion deficit. And we had to cut the budget. We had to raise taxes a little bit on folks making $500,000 or more. And actually, in the legislature, we had a proposal that would have raised the income tax a little bit, modestly, on folks making $250,000 or more, and raised a little bit more revenue so that we wouldn't have had to have relied so much on one-shot revenue. But I'll tell you, folks were trying to persuade us to shred the safety net. Folks were trying to persuade us, the governor and some of her Republican colleagues were saying, you know, just go ahead. Make those cuts that will hurt those in the greatest need. And we know that those cuts are the type of cuts that hurt the smaller towns in northeastern Connecticut. And we fought against shredding the safety net. And in the end, that did not happen. So we've got some tough times ahead, not only in the state of Connecticut when it comes to the budget, but across this country. You know, we've got our fingers crossed. I watch the stock market. I have no idea what's going on there. You know, it goes down a couple of days, then it comes way back up, and then, you know, one report comes out about unemployment, and folks react adversely, and then the GDP report comes out, and it goes up 200 points. Who knows what's going on? All I know is that families in Connecticut are still hurting. People are still afraid in terms of their jobs. Now, folks know about someone in their own family who's lost a job, or friends and neighbors who've lost a job. So we have our work cut out for us in the country and the state to get the economy back on track. And in the meantime, to live within our means. I know you do it at the town level. We have to do it at the state level. We have to persuade the governor to do that. I mean, I'll just give you a quick example. The latest news that came out of the governor's office last week was that she wanted to spend another $220 million for her departments and agencies over and above what we, the legislature, have budgeted. That's wrong. She's got to live within the means that we've set forth in that budget. So that's what's happening up at the state level. Yes, the budget process is finally done. It's over with for now, but we know that over the next year and a half, we'll have to continue working with you to find savings and efficiencies and to stretch the dollar in the state of Connecticut. You know, it almost makes me nostalgic for being first selectman of Thompson. And remembering those days, you know, Paul Sweet was here, Danny Rivero is here as well, and we all served together as mayors and first selectmen back in the late 1980s and the early 1990s, and Paul's back in the swim these days. But I'll tell you, there's nothing like working at the town level where, you know what, I mean, the issues are right there. People talk to you in the street, in the supermarkets, and, you know, some folks look at that as a downside. I don't. I thought it was the greatest experience. And one of the real benefits about being involved at the local level is that you have a chance to do something and see the results. See it. And it can happen fast. It can transform things. It can turn around things right before your eyes in your hometown. That's why it's so important to be involved in local government. And, you know, I've been thinking about what the candidates in this room are going through right now. And the hard campaigning, you know, you raise the money, you do the mailings, you get out there pounding the pavement, knock on those doors, shake the hands, talk about the future of your town, and then just pray for 8 o'clock Tuesday night. Can it just get here? You know, it just can't get there fast enough. And I know Danny remembers this. You know, you stand out there on election day, and you're shaking the hands in front of the polling place, you know, and checking that watch. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. All right. Now it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now it's starting to get dark. Somebody comes out and whispers in your ear, you know, the absentee votes, you know, they're going this way, they're going that way. And then 8 o'clock comes, and then it's done. And, you know, we're right around the corner. You have all worked hard. You've done what you've needed to do. The issues are clear. You just need to push that little bit more these next couple of days, and then 8 o'clock Tuesday will come. We'll elect Democrats.